Okay, so to start off with, let me see both of your hands. I'm going to put a little bit of this stuff. It doesn't matter what type of conditioning stick that you use. It's just something that's thicker, basically, up on the underneath area so that through all of the products that we're using, it's going to stay hydrated on the underneath of it. So all of this would be done before the competition starts. And for the ones that you can't use oil or any type of moisturizers, like the sculptured nails ones, or just any of them, it doesn't matter. This helps to make the underneath side of their finger stay conditioned. And if you have any dust or debris that goes up underneath there, it's going to stick onto the outside of this. So when I go with my towel at the end to clean up everything, it's like you'll wipe away any of the excess from this, and it'll get rid of the dust easier than if it's like stuck into the dry skin, I guess, if you will. The shape of this also helps. You can see has like a beveled edge on it. Anyway, so this part fits up underneath that side of the nail pretty good as well to do it pretty quickly. So that's beforehand. Right now we have 30 minutes to be able to do a full set of the soak off gel, pink and white on this hand, red on this hand. Working with the same model really does help because every single time I do it this way. So getting into that routine, I know that overall by looking at things like this inconsistency, let me pull it up more, in her smile line, I want to cover up that with red because I won't have to go back as far with my white on these ones to make it look like an even and perfect line. So visually, if you can look at both of them and see which is going to be easier to create a pink and white for you, it's going to be the best. Another thing that I would do prior to the competition would be to measure it out. Whether you take and do like pinky to pinky, here like this, you know, go through and just make sure that from cuticle to free edge, every single one of them is as close as possible. Because sometimes when their nail, like if you can see this one, is just a tad bit longer. So that would end up, or could end up being a determining factor in whether or not you would get like first or second or something like that. It's something so minor, but if you have this one that say their nail bed is longer and you're just looking at their free edge to try to determine your length, it can really mess you up. So I'm going to shorten this one really quick, just that little bit, to make sure that it's even. This is something that I didn't pay attention to as much in the beginning. I didn't realize it, I guess. I thought that I was having them all aligned well, but I didn't think to do the same thing that we do with acrylic and measure them from side to side. Okay, so that looks better. Something also that I have not done right now because she's going to be wearing these away in a normal life manner, so I'm not wanting to thin out her free edge incredibly. But when you look at the thickness right here of the free edge, if I can taper this down paper thin, then every time I go in with my brush and the coat of polish to come out into her free edge, you don't have to worry about capping the edges as much, which is, you know, a huge time saver. And when she flips her hands over, you don't have to worry about getting these sides as well because it's just tapered. It automatically happens. And so if you don't have time to go back at the end to make sure that you've cleaned them all out or whatever, then it's kind of a safeguard or a good preparation to be able to get into. Cool. Anything else you can think of? No. All right. So we're going to start with the timing. As Rhonda would be sitting there doing her whole countdown situation, I am as prepared as possible. All of my brushes are open and set up and ready to go. My setup would be the exact same every time. I'm going to use my pink first, so that's here. My solid white here, a top coat for my pink and white nail, my red bottle open, and then my top coat for my red. Because if by chance with the lamp and the curing that your red leaves any type of residue behind, and you're using the same top coat for your red or other color, and then try to use that brush on your pink and white, you're going to get little white streaks or red streaks on your pink and white. So I always put in that safeguard of having 2 separate top coats for it. All right, let me make sure. My lamp, I'm using the ONS lamp, the cordless lamp. So I just want to make sure that that's going to be on and ready for her because it has an automatic shut off. So she'd be counting down, and I'm ready with my first color to start coating onto her, which is going to be my my pink. All right, go ahead. Okay, with your models, it's a good idea that you have them wearing black, because if you need to be able to see the thickness or something, depth perception for things, it's very easy to be able to just put, angle that nail up and use their shirt as a backdrop to get a little bit of focus or clarity. I am not trying to go all the way back to her cuticle area, just leaving a slight border. On the sides, I am going from sidewall to sidewall with it. I do not cap my free edge with the pink because it would then, I guess, create more thickness at your free edge when you're trying to do the white. But overall, this coat should be as thin as humanly possible, because you're not wanting to create bulk onto the nail with it. It's just for color, essentially. And I'm going to go ahead and do her thumb. I looked back at the rest of her nails just to make sure nothing was on her cuticle area or that I would have to clean up. If you're using a really runny polish, you might have to do like a couple nails at a time and put it in. So just constantly trying to evaluate what's going on with her nail. Go ahead and put that one in. I am now done with my pink, so I do take the time to put it in a separate area, because at the end when I go to clean up, I don't have to worry about that being in my way. I'm trying to get, just a medium amount of the red, going as close as I can, pushing up to her cuticle. If you have too much on your brush, you're going to flood the cuticle. If you don't have enough, then you're wasting time going back and forth from your bottle. At this point in time, like I said, because of her wearing these later on, I do have to cap her free edge, but normally you would just coat down. And then I'm dipping in one more time, getting a little bit more polish on my brush, and I'm just going to slightly go over to even out that pigmentation, because now I don't have to worry about my edges. It's going to flow up to that line really nicely. Going into this one, same thing. Get as close as possible. My brush is kind of at a 45-degree angle to make sure it's really tapered. So it pushes out the edges of the brush in a rounded manicure. Rounded to, pushes out the brush rounded to match her cuticle. You want to make sure that this is not too thick because otherwise it's not going to cure properly, but still get an even one coat coverage. If you have anything that you need to clean up, I do like to use the plastic spatulas because they're really easy to clean versus like the brushes might ruin your polish. And I'm going to clean up on the bottom edge, pulling it back before I put her into the lamp. Checking on the underneath side to make sure there's no red on the bottom. Go ahead and put that one in. Okay, with this one now we're ready for my first coat of white. I do like using this brush as a guide if you have a problem getting your pink and whites to come out even. This is a good trick. I'm holding that side back with my pinky, her finger, and getting my top corner, the highest point of my smile lined up, and then just kind of sliding over. This line just serves as a guide for where my white is actually going to go in the end. Cleaning up on the underneath, or the sides, I guess, and underneath. You don't want a lot on your brush at all. I am paying attention to as well, like how thick her free edge is, making sure that like if the distance from here to here is going to be the same on the distance from here to here. Oh, and your phone doesn't, you can't tell. I can't do time. Normally with my model, she has a timer going as well as like what Rhonda's timer says. So my model would have her timer going at the same time as Rhonda's would, but she then has the ability to kind of, I don't want to say fool me in a way, but if I ask her for time, she knows to tell me not what the actual time is, like take off a few minutes or something like that to, in my head, help me get done on time. But you need to have your phone set to where it doesn't automatically shut off. Because right now I can't ask her for time because her phone has gone into sleepy mode. It woke up too early this morning and needs to go back to sleep. Okay. So before I put this one in, I'm going to go on the underneath. This coat should be so thin that you can't, you don't have to worry about it like pooling or anything like that. Go ahead and put that one in. What time?
It is
You
locked.
have to go all the way in it. Yeah. So when you're done curing that one,
Fix it.
let me know. Yeah. What time? Same procedure on this one. 45-degree angle brush. Come forward. Really paying attention to that edge of the brush. Because honestly, once you get some on the finger, it's a lot harder to go back and fix it. In the salon world, yes, you'd have to worry about base coat and all of this, but don't waste your time in a competition. Go ahead.
20 minutes, 30 seconds.
Okay. Okay, now I'm adding up a little bit more to even myself out. Capping her free edge only because it's thicker at this point in time. But if you do it right, you won't even have to do that by beveling that edge before you start. Okay, I have a little bit of the red right here, so I'm going to take that off now. Okay, go ahead and go in. Now I have to worry about my thumb on this side. Again, holding back the side of her fingers, slightly swooping across and then down because her thumbs are larger. So the brush is not going to meet all the way in the corner like it normally would. And I think that having this edge right here be super thin, it helps to make sure you avoid getting as much on the cuticle as possible. Checking to make sure that my smile line points are even, and go ahead and go in. Okay, so I'm done with this brush now. I'm gonna put it off to the side. I can clean it and do things with it later. Pushing 45. Some people like to take a different brush and do a super thin coat, kind of the same, like I'm doing this one really thin. But do it with a brush that's already rounded and smaller so you have a little bit more control. So that's an option as well. Go ahead.
18 minutes.
Are you being good and modelly, or is it actually 18 minutes?
No, I'm being modelly. I
Okay.
built in an extra minute for you to finish things up.
Okay. No, see, that's hard. So we're gonna fix that quick and a little bit at her cuticle. With my model right now, her cuticle, it's very thin. If you have someone who has a really nice pocket, I guess, to where you can push them back and the skin really goes back well, that's awesome. So for her, I know I have to be really careful. Go ahead and put that one in. I'm gonna, again, cap this one, get rid of that, come back to my pink and white hand. This one, now, we're gonna go in with the bottle straight from the brush. Take off all of this excess because you need so minimal. Push your fingers down, come forward. I'm gonna push up in the center first. I prefer to do the left and then to the right. Using it as a guide, or using that that previous line as a guide. If you happen to go over this line, wipe it off and start over. Only because, again, her nail is that little bit thicker, I'm having to go in and do that free edge. If you have a good gel polish, by the time that you get through to the end of this and you've had enough applied as far as like thickness wise, then it's all gonna even out really nicely and you won't really have to go in and do any more touch-ups. You don't want to have a massive amount because you'll end up with a line in between where her smile line and nail bed, the pink of her nail bed, meets. And that's not a good thing. Like I can see on this one I need a little bit more just to help even it out. And remember, like, as perfect as I try to make all of this stuff, not one competition nail that goes up there is absolutely perfect. So sometimes you have to pick and choose where you're going to spend more time based upon where you're going to get more points. So each one, looking up the judging criteria, and if my smile lines was worth 10 points, then I'm going to spend more time making sure that my smile line is even from nail to nail. If it's only worth 5 points, then maybe I spend more time at the end making sure that my nail is like more of an even surface, or so my surface structure, you know, would have more points. Time?
13.5 minutes.
Okay, go ahead and put that one in. So now with this one, we're going to go into our top coat. Same kind of thing. First, I'm going to go in thinner, 45-degree angle, pull forward, controlling my sides. And I want to make this nail look as healthy as possible. So I'm going to do the same thing I did with my red. Get just a little bit more and very lightly come across the top, making sure that my sides don't bubble out. Go ahead and put that one in. Because I put that little bit more in, I want to cure fast. Come on. Because it would run. The viscosity of my clear is more liquid. So if I don't put it in there, then it would run. Something else, advice that was given to me, if I was doing her for actual competition stuff right now, I would make her nails oval. A few different reasons. It complements her particular nail shape better, her hands better. It makes them look a little bit longer than what they are. But also, you don't have to worry about the convex portion of her C-curve being completely even. So the fact that her thumb dips down a little bit on this side would be less noticeable if less of her C-curve was exposed on the underneath. I just have like air bubbles in my white, so I'm trying to pull those air bubbles out. Again, I'm putting that polish bottle to the side, just sit here, just like this. See that one? .45-degree angle, first coat thinner. Gel polish is one of those categories that, to my surprise, there's always so many people in it, yet it's really hard. You would not anticipating it being so difficult, because this is something you think, oh, I do every day and what have you. But a lot of times when you pay attention to the points, they are so close that the judges have to spend a lot of time going back and forth, because the quality of work that gets turned in is so awesome. I'm looking at the side profile as I'm adding this next coat on, just to see where I can even her nail up a little, to try to fix her own personal structure. Go ahead and put that one in. See this one? Okay, go ahead and switch. Did it go on?
It's on.
As soon as that one goes off, go ahead and give me time. I also try to position myself to where I can see Rhonda's clock. So in between, you know, the switching and all that kind of stuff, I can take a quick look up. They do try to put it up higher for that, but definitely pick out your seating strategically.
You have 8:45.
Go ahead and put that one in. So this is awesome, in my opinion. This is really awesome. 8 minutes is good at this point. Now with this top coat, I'm going all the way back to my cuticle area, very thin, because you don't want to flood it. They will still take at the end their finger and see if there's any gap or ledge or anything like that. I dipped my brush like about halfway in, just so I could only get a little bit more product. Okay, here I'm looking to the side. Again, I'm going to add like just maybe a little dot. Let it kind of self-level and do. Just to build up where there might be that little ledge and make her nail smooth out some. Okay, go ahead and put that one in. Thumb on this one, huh?
Yep.
Doing this over and over with your models, they will eventually know like what to pay attention to and where their hands need to be. But in your preparation, try to do that with them as much as possible. Even if you're just doing a dry run, it'll help your muscle memory to know exactly where you need to go, and help them to pay attention to where their focus should be. The model's job to me is like more important. Like they have more writing on them than honestly I think I even do, because their role is so important. Okay, go ahead and put that one in.
6.5 minutes.
This one goes off to the side. Now I'm doing these two. And my station is pretty much clear on the underneath of it. So when I bring out my spray bottle and my towel or your container filled with water, whatever you have time to do, I don't have to worry about knocking any of my bottles over. Again, I'm only capping the free edge because of what she's doing right now. Add just that little bit right there. I kind of treat this portion almost like as if you were working with a hard gel, that like once you've set it in place, then pull forward to make it taper off at your free edge. Okay, put that one in. So now with this one, once it comes out from the heat of the lamp, you want to try to like have it have that little bit of a resting time, because before you cleanse it or oil it or anything like that, to give it the most high shine as possible. This is just one of the C-curve sticks with 240 grit paper on the underneath of it. You can use metal files as well. I just bevel that edge slightly. I am using a no cleanse top coat, so that does help. But again, any oils or anything else that I do to that is gonna dull the finish. Oh, Audra, there's hairs. No hairs, no fuzz. What's my time?
You're looking at 4 minutes, 10 seconds.
There was something like hard in there, almost like it was hard gel or something. Hardened gel on the top of the container. Okay, gonna add just that little bit right here, kind of floating it. Okay, go ahead and put that one in. Again, that bottle goes off to the side. Now this one should have sat plenty long enough that we can start doing what I call like crazy water. So either you would have a container of filled up of water off to the side. You can only use water. You can't have anything else in there. So as I was working on one of the other hands, she could be soaking in there to get rid of any of the dirt, debris, whatever. And sometimes that's the only time that you have. You can't go back in with the water or anything else or like a spray bottle and really take the time to be able to do all this stuff. What's my time? Oh, 3. Yeah. Basically, we have 3 minutes and 40 seconds left.
Yes.
All right. This is plenty of time. Your nails should be nothing but absolutely perfect at this point in time. Okay. Perfection. You shouldn't have any dirt, debris, nothing. With the Q-tip, I'm going to go and, this is a wooden tipped Q-tip. So I'm going to go underneath, make sure that it's super clean underneath there. Oh, I didn't just do that. No blowing. As Rhonda would say, no blowing, sucking, licking, touching allowed. When I first started convening, I had no idea. I'm like, what are you, why are we saying these things? This doesn't make any sense. But literally, you do still have models that will try to cheat, or their competitors will try to cheat. And so if you're in a competition, let me see the other one. So this has been out of the lamp and has had time to,
You have 2.5 true minutes, not
Okay.
fake minutes.
the models will try to lick their cuticles or things like that as they're up being judged, just to try to give them moisture, because in not all of the competitions are you able to use moisture. So that's where that comes from. All right, we're gonna do water. Something else that you could pay attention to with your filing, I have a super thin metal file, and maybe I could go along my edges to crisp that up, all for like minor adjustments. But you do what you have time to do. Just make sure that you finish. It's the biggest thing, because if you don't finish, then they don't have time enough to be able to judge. Go ahead and be a Rhonda. 1 minute, 30 seconds.
1 minute, 30 seconds.
Okay, so I'm going to go all of our side walls, and just check to see if I have any little like knobby things hanging down or anything to even out. Taking advantage of every second possible. If you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs at the end of the competition, I honestly would hope that you don't place, because there's always something that you can do. Always.
1 minute.
Always, always something that you can do. Whether it be, you know, massage in more other oil if you have that time, or clean up dust, or high shine, like always. So utilize your time wisely. I'm going to use a little bit of LCN's Skin Lifting Concentrate instead of using like a lotion or a regular oil, because this is going to provide an extreme amount. You can talk over me. Go ahead. Be
30
Rhonda.
seconds.
Be a Rhonda. This is going to absorb super quick and still provide her with amazing hydration. This is from their anti-age line. So it's going to help to plump up her wrinkles and all of these good things. 11 seconds.
10 seconds.
I'm going to use my microfiber towel to really try to high shiner, rub all off to make sure there's no excess residue or anything like that.
Hands up.
Done. Okay. Go ahead and stop your timer. So from this point, let's look and see what mistakes and stuff we can find, because like I said, we are not perfect, right? All of them are a little bit off. You know, there's not, like, you try to be perfect, but you know, I don't know if you can see. We're gonna like look at the side profiles of this. Get something black. Something black. Can't totally see because there's a shadow on there. But you want to try to make like this as plump and even as possible, so there's no divot right here in this area. So that's what I'm looking for right now. So I'm turning them off to the sides. I think overall, you know, not too shabby. You look pretty good. My smile lines could always be, you know, that little bit more even. I think these are a really good shine with it. Okay, so my thumb in the cuticle area, like back in here, it has a little bit of a dull spot in it. So more than likely, this is a curing situation. So maybe like have her cure that little bit extra, just because it didn't hit right back in here. Let me see if I can. Yeah, that's definitely like a curing thing. So there's that little bit dull that you would lose points off of. But maybe overall, I mean, like on my shine, I would say that it's like a 4, because all of these are super shiny. It's just that one not in here. So 3, 4. Looking at the sides of these as well. Let's come up to the light more here. Not bad. They're just because of her natural nail, like on this one, it dips down a little bit more from here down. So I did try to build up that area a little bit like you would acrylic. It's hard to see on that side. I'm sorry for that. Yeah, see, because my light source is coming from the left, so you can see it much better on that side. So even though this is not like a product that you're wanting to build up with, trying to compensate for the natural nails imperfections and make it look like it would be more of an enhancement. So overall, again, with that, this one, there you go, Anti-Age Skin Lifting Concentrate. This is something that I do have my models use on a regular basis. It's a very high-end skincare line to help plump up their nails and make them look pretty. So she's not massively covered with oil. Because she's not going to be my competition model this time, like her hands are more dry at her cuticle areas. So this is something that I would have her preparing ahead of time using their scrub, their moisturizers. I would be doing paraffin. I would go in more with my e-file on the sides with a diamond bit to try to really get her hands tip-top shape for that if she was going to be my model for this next time. So do everything you can, hand and nail care ahead of time to make their hands look the most fantastic absolutely possible. Can you think of anything to add to it model wise or prepping your experience, anything like that?
No.
Okay. Hope this helps you guys. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. This is Genesis Ward with Sozo Education and Beauty Supply.